So if you've ever walked into your local coffee shop and tried to pay for your latte with Bitcoin, chances are your barista's probably given you a wry smile and pointed at a sign saying cash only. And nearly a decade after the virtual currency was invented, a surprising number of retailers do now accept it. But many people who use Bitcoin see it more as a form of investment, rather like gold. And Bitcoin has just passed a significant milestone. 1 unit of the currency is now more expensive than an ounce of the yellow metal. The main reason for the surge in Bitcoin's value appears to be speculation that US market regulators will approve Bitcoin funds to be publicly traded. This would give investors a degree of protection against the volatility of Bitcoin's value. But what else can you do with Bitcoin? Well, the number of retailers who allow customers to pay using the virtual currency appears to be growing in recent years. They include some well-known brands like Dell and Microsoft. Some Subway sandwich outlets in the US reportedly also use it, and even a pub in London called the Pembury Tavern has gotten in on the action. But despite this, many consumers and businesses still have reservations about the currency. For more on this, Jeffrey Tucker joins us now, live from Atlanta in Georgia in the US. He's a big advocate of the Bitcoin and the head of content at the Foundation for Economic Education. Jeffrey, thank you ever so much for joining us. Firstly, in simple terms, explain to us how a consumer can use Bitcoin. If he's got like 2 Bitcoin in his wallet and he wants to buy something, how does that transaction work?
Well, it works very much like cash. You find out the price, you hold up your phone, you scan a QR code, which gives you an address. It's a public address. You shift your funds to that address. When I say shift the funds, so that's really a metaphor. What you're doing is accessing a ledger that's in the cloud. It gives you access, and you move around ownership rights to these things called Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And that ledger is seen by everybody in the world who is a node, who owns who holds that blockchain. So that's how the accounts stay balanced. It's an extraordinary innovation in payment processing, and that's why the Bitcoin is so valuable.
Now, last year in a speech, you described Bitcoin as the most exciting thing that's ever happened to humanity. Why are you so optimistic about this technology?
Okay, that's quite a statement, but I think I'll stick by it, actually. I do. It's an extraordinary thing because of the blockchain. Nobody ever thought the payment processing could work this way. It relies fundamentally on digital tools. It would be possible to have an analog blockchain, but it would be really difficult to manage. Thanks to the internet, now we have the ability to keep these ledgers in the cloud that everybody can keep track of and write algorithms that allow easy access to them. And the extraordinary thing is that the blockchain and Bitcoin do not discriminate based on who you are, how much money you have, what your status is, what country you live in. It's available to every single human person with access to some device that accesses the internet without any intermediaries or anybody stopping you.
Jeffrey, you've mentioned this key word a few times now, the blockchain. This is actually the underlying technology that is behind virtual currencies like Bitcoin. But it's actually a whole lot more than that, isn't it? The potential for the use of this also goes into legal systems and things like that. But having said all that, many people still have this image of the Bitcoin as something primarily used by geeks and criminals. Is that a fair assumption of who the main users of Bitcoin are right now?
Well, I think that might have been a fair assumption in 2009 or maybe even 2010. But that's the way technology is began. They always began as marginal devices, marginal tools that are used by radicals and experimental, risk-averse people. But now, in a very, very short period of time, we've seen Bitcoin become just not mainstream yet, but almost mainstream. I find myself able to use it in surprising ways in surprising places. You know, I was just in Acapulco a few days ago, and I bought a cup of coffee, and I saw that they accepted Bitcoin, and I said, "Do you really?" She said, "Sure." And so I held up my phone and paid. That's how I paid. I was in New Hampshire the week before, and I bought some soap with Bitcoin. They took it. So more and more people are accepting it. And this is just in the physical world.
Right.
Online, you can practically buy anything
Okay.
with Bitcoin.
I wish I could have been there in Acapulco with you, Jeffrey. Unfortunately, time is against us. Thank you ever so much for joining us on Money Talks.